Redemption. When you say that word, what comes to mind for you? Have you ever done anything in your life that you either regretted or were embarrassed by, or it felt like a mistake in your life? Now, I want to rewind a bit and say this isn't exactly a mistake, but it certainly was judged like a mistake. You see, I had unplanned pregnancy, and more than one before I was married. And people, I mean, they don't mean to, but they just love to judge you, right? Like, how dare you? What's wrong with you? You're pregnant again? Is it the same father? What happened? You see, I was a single mom when I swore never again, only 6 months later to be pregnant again. And yes, for those of you that need to know, someone else was the dad. And people want to judge that. They want to tell a story about who you are and label you. The interesting thing about pregnancy is that it shows up on the outside, that we can't say that's not me when people can see your body changing. I was 21 years old when I had my second unplanned pregnancy, and I didn't know what to do. I decided that this pregnancy would end in adoption, not abortion, adoption. And yet people judged me, people shamed me. You see, I still didn't have my driver's license, and I looked like I was 12. I had one baby on one hip and a stomach growing out to here. I was so embarrassed. People would pretend to whisper, but you know how sometimes people's voices are loud even when they're whispering? And they'd say, young people today, look at the teenagers. I wasn't a teenager, I was 21. I gave birth to my daughter, Catherine Ann, and my oldest sister adopted her. I'd love to tell you that adoption's a beautiful, easy thing, and in fact, I'm writing a book on the 3 sides of adoption, hoping to move from hurt to hope, whether you're a birth parent, adoptive, or adoptee. There's a story inside of every adoption, but for me, in that time of my life, there was a lot of shame, a lot of sadness, a lot of judgment, a lot of questions. It's so funny how people feel open to ask you questions about things that are very personal. But something amazing happened this year. Actually, my daughter is 34 years old. She lives in Colorado. She's married. She has a son. I got to meet him last year for the first time. My mother-in-law says, to me, you're a grandma. And though she doesn't feel like that, and my sister doesn't feel like that, there was some hope inside of that hard piece of my story. But something amazing happened this year. There's an organization in Florida called Funding Love. They believe adoption's the most beautiful story, whether it's the birth parent or the adoptee or the adopter. They're like, enough shame, enough sadness. What if we make it about hope and healing? What if we make it about more love than less love? Rather than the threat of an open adoption, what if you like your birth parents or your bio parents, as some people say, better than your adoptive? No. What if we can all love you? But this organization, Funding Love, says, what if we can make something beautiful about love? So they open a contest for families of adoptees once a year and for birth moms once a year. They open a contest and they say, tell us your story. Tell us your hurt and your hope. Tell us why adoption matters to you. Tell us about the wounds. Tell us about the beauty. And you get to write like a story, an application, Funding Love. And I got a call about a month ago. And they said to me, Miss Annie, we have a few more questions for you. I said, go ahead. So tell us about your adoption. Is it a point of joy or a point of sadness? And I said, yes, both. Right? That sometimes things aren't either good or bad, they're all of it. That it's super joyful to me that I brought a life into the world, and super sad to me that I wasn't in a place to raise her. Is it open or closed? Yes, both. My sister adopted her. She's always known I was her birth mom, but she took her to Arizona, and I didn't get to see her and raise her like the way I hoped. And they said, guess what? You win. I said, I win what? I'm not very good at the details, so I wasn't even sure what I was applying for. They said, we believe you're a princess. There's nothing more sacrificial than to love a life enough to carry it, deliver it, and place it in the hands of someone else to raise because you don't think you're in a place that you can. And I want you to know that you've won the contest. You get to have a VIP experience and come to Disney. And we're gonna celebrate you and 13 other birth moms. We're gonna celebrate who you are and what you've done for the good that you are in the world. Oh, I start bawling. Not bawling because I won or bawling because this is so amazing, but why I started crying is that I believe this. My whole life I've believed in happily ever after, the Cinderella story. I mean, I thought it was real. It was what I was always looking for. When you don't have a dad like that and a guy says, I love you if you do this or do that with me. I thought that was true. And even though there's been so many things in life to tell me I am not a princess, I've always just hung on to that hope, just maybe Maybe someone would see the princess in me and love me beyond my body and not judge me for the pregnancies outside my marriage or this or that, but just see me for the woman that I really am, to be redeemed. You see, I'm a woman of faith, and what I know is that for 20 years I believed I was worthless. But then one day I got up and I thought, what if I started to believe what God believed about me? What if I really am a princess in His eyes? And when I got that call, they said, we got one more question for you, Annie. Do you want to be treated like a princess? They said, we're taking you to Disney, and you're going to have a VIP experience. You're going to go to all the parks. Everything's going to be paid for and taken care of. You're going to go behind the scenes, and you can dress up like a princess if you want. And I just started to cry. And in the sadness of that story, I felt redemption. And I thought about everybody's story, and I wondered, what's your story that you need redeeming from? What's your sadness that you think people are still judging you in that box? And what if you don't have to live there anymore? I'm a princess. I love being a princess. I get up every day and I go, I'm a princess. My husband's like, I know you are. But what if you really are? I don't tell you this story to say, look at me, celebrate me, I'm a princess, I won this prize. In fact, I was a little sad when I won because my friend that's also a birth mom told me about it. And the first thing I did was call her because I knew they were going to announce it. And I said, did you win? And she said, no. And I said, I won, and I kind of feel guilty because you're the one that told me. And she said, Annie, I will be with you in spirit and celebrate you every step of the way. You give voice to unplanned pregnancy. You give voice to adoption. You speak openly about the shame of being a birth mom and the hope of placing your child in someone else's loving arms. Too many people are stuck in the hurt. You help us move to the hope. And I want you to know that all of our stories can be redeemed. That no matter what we've gone through, no matter what we've done in the past, no matter what other people have said about us, it's what we say about ourselves. And I love being a princess, but I really love inviting other people to be a princess alongside me, locking arms. In fact, the trip is in September, and my hope between now and then is to go to thrift stores and find princess and old prom dresses and get a bunch of girlfriends to dress up and just celebrate all the negative things that have been put on us because we didn't do this, or we did do this, or we weren't worthy of that, and say, stop, what if? What if all of us deserve to be redeemed and live a princess story? I love to inspire people to look back to see how far you've come so that you can look forward in hope. I'm Annie, and I believe you have a redemption story too.